In 1928, the Paris Academy of Sciences adopts a secret memorandum to turn the scorched Sahara into a fertile paradise of the colonial empire. The key to the plan is the Kattara Depression, a gigantic natural basin 133 meters below global sea level. The plan is simple and insane. Pierce a multi-kilometer tunnel from the Mediterranean and direct ocean waters into the desert. To excavate millions of tons of rock, France mobilizes heavy steam rotary excavators of the Vulcan series. Tens of thousands of mobilized workers and colonial soldiers construct the first concrete sea locks around the clock. June 1931. The last natural barrier in the seawater's path is mined with 300 tons of ammonal. Explosion. Millions of tons of ocean water roar through the shattered granite shield and rush into the burning depression. In the first 6 months, an inland sea covering over 18,000 square kilometers is formed. To keep the water moving, Object Alpha units are launched along the coast, Cyclopean diesel pumping stations. Millions of tons of salt water under the African sun begin to evaporate at a frantic pace. Atmospheric pressure over North Africa plummets. Stable Azores cyclones shift northward. An unprecedented storm front forms over Europe. The first heavy drops fall onto the cobblestones of Paris. Cyclones displaced by the Sahara Sea collide with cold alpine air. The sky over Europe turns into a solid wall of water. Rivers of the Alpine basin overflow in hours. The Rhine, Rhone, and Danube burst their banks, carrying tons of mud. Paris is not ready for tropical downpours. The old city sewer system cannot cope. The Seine begins to flood the coastal districts. Authorities declare excavation. The treasures of the Louvre are hastily attempted to be moved inland. But the railway tracks are already underwater. London finds itself under double impact. The Thames downpour and the North Sea tide caused by a change in currents. The Netherlands, the multi-year system of dams and polders, collapses in a matter of days under the onslaught of the flood. Europe's energy system, based on coal and analog logic, collapses due to flooding of substations and relay shorts. Within weeks of the flood, major European capitals plunge into complete darkness. The era of diesel and iron is at risk. Europe transitions to defense. The head of the General Staff adopts Order Number 77, immediate isolation of the subterranean citadels. To seal the Turing relay calculator halls, engineers apply a triple mechanical lock and bituminous coating. Despite the flood's advance, the European General Pact of 1952 is secured. All nuclear and chemical arsenals are sealed with concrete. Europe plunges into frozen time under reinforced concrete arches. Surface life becomes a myth. 1958. The continent's surface is fully swallowed by the flood. Remnants of European nations now exist inside closed, reinforced concrete citadels. To manage life support, Turing 9 series calculators are lowered underground, giants built on copper contact relays. Diesel fuel and coal dust become the only currency underground. Every drop of fuel is strictly accounted for by commissions. Food and oxygen are synthesized artificially. Fuel ration stamps decide who receives the daily protein brick. To extract remaining geothermal heat and raw materials, citadel drill rigs bite 5 kilometers deep into the earth. Communication between citadels is restricted. In the dark tunnels between sectors, a network of couriers and analog spies is born. Their goal: schematics of the early Kattara launch systems capable of unlocking flooded surface archives. In late 1961, the Turing 9 analog computer in Citadel 2 intercepts an unknown signal from the flooded north. The signal originates from the North Sea, from an automated diesel platform submerged during the first downpours. Citadel 2 Command decides equip a diesel submarine cruiser to reconnoiter the autonomous facility. The submarine leaves the safe underground bunker and enters the dark, stormy waters of the flooded North Sea. Ahead, out of the mist, emerges the giant silhouette of a flooded automated complex. History enters its climax. The assault team of Citadel 2 docks onto the rusted lower decks of the Oceania platform under a relentless downpour. Dead silence reigns inside the platform, broken only by the rhythmic ticking of an emergency mechanical timer. To breach the central computing block, the team deploys a thermite cutter to open the armored hatch. Behind the door lies an active Erebus 1 relay complex, continuing to run on an autonomous geothermal generator. The expedition's technician connects a portable decoder to the main data bus, deciphering the final commands from 1969. The horrific truth is revealed. Erebus is not a beacon. It is an automated launch system for remaining thorium missiles in case of lost contact with Paris. Due to persistent moisture, the copper contact relay of the countdown timer has oxidized. Less than 300 seconds remain until automatic launch. Submerged missile silos on the sea floor begin receiving power. A false launch could incinerate human remnants underground. The only way to stop the chain reaction is to physically sever the main power to the relay array using a manual lever. But the main breaker switch is jammed with rust and bituminous sludge. The timer counts down the final seconds. With a final effort, using a steel crowbar, the engineer smashes the copper contact bridge 1 second before launch. The threat of automated destruction is averted. But Oceania's deciphered maps reveal a new, even more terrifying secret. The deciphered Erebus logs point to Sector 0, the central submerged archive where original schematics of Sahara's lock cascades are stored. The coordinates lead to the heart of flooded Paris. Sector 0 is in the citadel that plunged to a depth of 300 meters. This citadel was the first experimental underground city. It suffocated under the flood's pressure an hour after the blast gates were sealed. Citadel 2's standard diving gear won't withstand such pressure. Overweight Grafe series bathyscarfs are needed for entry. The first deep-sea surface expedition in 20 years begins. 2 bathyscarfs submerge into the dark waters of flooded France, depth 100 meters. The Grafe steel hulls begin to shudder from increasing pressure. Contact goes analog. The airwaves fill with interference. Citadel 2's analog relay calculators barely catch Grafe 1's coded signal. Depth 250 meters. Ahead, in the rays of powerful searchlights, emerges the giant silhouette of the flooded Citadel Paris. The main blast gate is locked with the Citadel's mechanical lock. It was closed from the inside 30 years ago. Grafe 1 needs to apply hydraulic manipulators to physically break the lock or find the emergency code. With a final effort, using a steel crowbar, the engineer smashes the copper contact bridge 1 second before launch. Chain reaction is averted. Grafe 1 enters the darkness of Sector 0 in the flooded Paris citadel. Bathyscarf Grafe 1 slowly enters the central hall of Sector 0. Around it lies underground Paris, frozen in a dark green water abyss. In the center sits Turing 0, the world's first relay supercomputer capable of modeling global climate shifts. Operators in heavy Triton hard hat diving suits exit the bathyscaphe and step onto the rusted bridge of the main terminal. The primary goal, a hermetic brass and tin safe container holding calculations for Phase 2 of Project Kattara. Inside lie not paper documents, but zinc and copper punched matrices, impervious to water and time. The first decoded matrix reveals the final order of the French Academy. Flooding the Sahara was not a mistake, but an intentional weapon. The goal of Parisian engineers was the destruction of oil basins and submerging all of North Africa to stop armored armies. However, they failed to account for atmospheric feedback. The weapon created to flood the desert spiraled out of control and flooded Europe itself. Suddenly, a powerful tectonic shock shakes the underground hall of Sector 0. The flood has displaced the Mediterranean seafloor. The expedition commander orders immediate ascent. The zinc matrix container is locked inside the bathyscaphe. The bathyscaphe breaches the dark green water surface and pops up onto the stormy North Sea. The retrieved Sector 0 matrices are secured on board. Ahead lies decoding the tech that can either drain Europe or destroy it forever. 1971. In a deep laboratory of Citadel 2, engineers install the retrieved zinc matrices into the Turing 9 reading unit. Thousands of copper contact needles simultaneously touch the zinc matrix perforations, closing relay circuits. The decoding reveals schematics for the third, classified phase of the Sahara project, the Kattara 3 cascade pumping network. Kattara 3 was engineered to pump water backward from the European basin into natural subterranean caverns. However, launching phase Kattara 3 would inevitably flood the underground lower levels of neighboring Citadels 4 and 5. Citadel 2 demands immediate pump activation to save the land crossing. Neighbors declare this an act of war. The unified underground alliance fractures. An era of analog espionage and sabotage in reinforced concrete tunnels begins. Special forces from Citadel 4 launch a covert raid on pumping station Alpha to disable its miraculous diesel pumps. A brief and brutal clash in the ankle-deep flooded engine hall decides the fate of water flow control. The saboteurs manage to plant a thermobaric charge under the main drive shaft of the pumping complex. The main shaft breaks. Object Alpha pumps freeze, and water levels in northern tunnels begin to rise rapidly. Pumping Alpha sabotage becomes the point of no return. Underground, the first drain war erupts, a conflict for survival control. 1973. Intersector transport tunnels have transformed into reinforced concrete trenches, flooded knee-deep with black, oily water. To breach closed blast gates, Citadel 2 deploys heavy bipedal assault machines of the Cyclops series. Sector 4 defenses counter the advance with stream fire from heavy sealed flame projector units. Despite losses, the Cyclops armor glows red hot, yet they push onward toward the blast gates. Citadel 2 infantry surges into the breach behind the mechs, engaging in hand-to-hand combat inside narrow utility ducts. The main objective, Sector 4's primary power lock, behind which sits the underground watershed junction. Defenses collapse. Citadel 2 forces seize the main pump hall and override the drainage controls. Citadel 2 claims the dry ground, but at the cost of drowning 2 neighboring sectors and irreversibly wrecking the subterranean eco-balance. 1978. Tectonic shifts caused by water displacement trigger a wave of earthquakes across the entire Citadel chain. Engineers accept the truth: prolonged life underground is impossible. The only chance of survival is returning to drained surface zones. Citadel 2 begins unsealing vertical lift shafts and heavy rail transport platforms. After 3 decades under reinforced concrete, humanity unseals the hatches once more and steps onto a drained yet scarred new world. 1982. The receding waters exposed thousands of square kilometers of dead land, encrusted in white salt and iron ship skeletons. Citadel 2 recon confirms a land corridor has opened between southern Europe and North Africa. To claim the land and protect the rail lines from sudden surges, Citadel 2 laid down the Great Diesel Wall. A trunk railway is laid along the wall. Armored trains of the Mammoth series carry tons of structural parts. Autonomous diesel pillboxes with rotating gun turrets are mounted into the wall every 300 meters. The drained wasteland attracts more than the citadel. Out of former city ruins emerge raider bands on crude diesel trikes. Raiders launch an attack on Construction Sector 12, attempting to seize diesel generators and fuel reserves. The wall's automated systems easily repel the attack, but recon detects a far greater threat: seismic vibrations beneath. Pumping billions of cubic meters of water triggered a basalt plate subsidence. A fault line is forming under the salt flats. Geologists deliver a grim forecast. If the fault breaches the sea floor, ocean water will roar back into the drained plains. Citadel 2 declares a state of emergency. All construction resources are redeployed to reinforce the tectonic fault. Humanity enters a new battle, no longer with water or each other, but with the deformed planet itself, seeking to reclaim its balance. 1984. To stop the widening tectonic rift, General Staff approves an unprecedented plan, hammering 200-meter steel anchors into the basalt bed. Heavy 50-ton steam hammers drive steel rods day and night into the fracturing rock. Simultaneously, special trains with incandescent blast furnace slag arrive from Citadel 2 metallurgical works. Molten slag and steel anchors form an artificial basalt monolith, sealing the crack beneath the Great Wall. When the collapse threat receded, the wall's analog radio tower suddenly intercepted an ultra-long-wave encoded transmission. The transmission originates from an equatorial sector blocked by salt plateaus, Citadel, Sahara South. The southern sector survived thanks to preserving natural artesian basins beneath the Ahaga highlands. Citadel South proposes linking power grids and railways to forge a new intercontinental pact. Within a month, track layers roll onto the salt plain. Construction of the Great Southern Trunk Railway begins. First super trains roll down the new track. Steam diesel leviathans transport water, turbines, and rebar south. The Trans-Sahara Trunk becomes the backbone of a new diesel civilization, uniting remnants of 2 continents. The 20th century world, reshaped by the Kattara disaster, froze in a fragile balance between iron, salt, and molten slag. 1986, heavy armored train Avant-Garde rolls along the newly laid salt track deep into the defiant African continent. At kilometer 401, analog dosimeters in the engine cab begin to pin off the charts. The radiation source lies straight ahead. Out of the morning fog emerges the derailed, half-submerged in slag locomotive Erebus Zero. An assault team clad in heavy lead-4 protective suits disembarks onto the salt plateau to inspect the vanished vessel. The team cuts open the corrosion-riddled hatch of the reactor bay to evaluate the condition of thorium elements. In the chief engineer's cabin, An intact brass logbook is found with an entry dated November 14, 1949. The records reveal the train carried a mobile geoengineering unit capable of halting the flood back in 1949, but track sabotage derailed the train, and the thorium reactor locked into a slow emission mode for decades. The avant-garde engineers register. Due to salt plateau shifts, the thorium core's activity has begun to rapidly surge. The expedition commander issues an urgent order: flood the reactor bay with liquid slag solution from avant-garde tanks. Millions of liters of neutralizing fluid seal the reactor, turning Erebus Zero into a safe reinforced sarcophagus. The ancient core is sealed, but secret maps retrieved from Erebus open the way to the final geoengineering hub in the south. 1987, the Ahaga Highlands. Armored train avant-garde reaches the terminal end of the line, the reinforced concrete portal of hub Ahaga 1. Inside, the expedition is met by the Node Keepers, an autonomous engineer caste that protected the prime freshwater source for 40 years. Before the explorers lies the subterranean basin, a cyclopean natural cavern with crystal-clear fresh water beneath a basalt vault. Yet the node's chief engineer presents critical data. The activation of Kattara 3 pumps in the north has begun to deform the underground aquifer. Tectonic pressure from saltwater displacement in Europe sucks saline silt into Ahaga's pure subterranean veins. If saline silt blocks the artesian filters, the South will lose its only source of life within 3 months. Pressure reverse synchronization is required, partially stop European pumps and unseal deep drainage valves. Keepers initiate ultrasonic filter shaking using heavy diesel resonant generators. Cleansing succeeds, freshwater flow is restored, but total salvation demands activating the final synchronization hub. Ahaga 1 and Citadel 2 signed the Joint Hydraulic Control Agreement. The first step toward unified continental peace. The expedition equips a combined train. The goal, the central control complex Kattara Prime on the new sea coast. The history of the 20th century geoengineering rift approaches its decisive moment. Master the iron or let the planet rebuild. 1988, the combined train arrives at the cyclopean ruins of Kattara Prime, the place where the flood was born 6 decades ago. A joint engineering team from Citadel 2 and Ahaga breaches the main hall of hydraulic balancers. In the center of the hall lies the master analog synchronization panel, the heart of the entire continental geoengineering grid. However, main discharge valve number 3 is jammed with salt sludge. Pressure in European collectors begins to surge once more. To clear the cast iron gate, volunteers prepare a manual thermite blast of the salt plug. Initiation. Blinding orange thermite flame melts through the 3-meter salt plug in 15 seconds. For full synchronization, engineers must simultaneously throw 4 5-ton pressure balancing levers. The master synchronization system engages. All 9 sluice gates of Kattara Prime transition to automatic mode simultaneously. Teletypes from northern citadels confirm water rise in flooded European tunnels has stopped. Controlled recession begins. Kattara Prime transforms from a symbol of geoengineering terror into the main regulating artery of a new unified world. For the first time in 60 years, the fog dissipates over the drained salt flats, revealing space for new construction. The history of Kattara proved violence against nature returns as a flood, but reason and solidarity can rebuild a world from salt and iron. 1990. Thanks to Kattara Prime automation, northern European water levels drop 20 meters. The first engineering armored train enters flooded Paris. To restore central districts, engineering forces deploy floating diesel pumping stations right onto the Seine quays. Citadel II's government commission enters the unsealed underground Louvre vault, where artifacts were kept for 30 years. Simultaneously in the south, construction of the transit bridge begins, the largest rail viaduct across the exposed sea floor between continents. 1993. The first civilian express train runs from restored Paris to A Haga without a single stop. At the junctions of trunk lines and new artesian canals, the first land megacities of the new diesel era arise. Desalinated soils, enriched with new phosphate fertilizers, turn into the planet's most fertile agricultural zones. The 1928 vision comes to life at last, not through destruction, but through a sensible balance between iron and water. 1998. Delegates from 52 citadels assemble in the restored Grand Council Hall on the Seine quay. The Confederation signs the Charter of the New Earth, a document forever banning uncontrolled tectonic and climate tampering. The 20th century, which began with a horrific geoengineering rift, concludes with the rise of a new, battle-forged civilization. The lesson of Kattara stays in history forever. The future belongs not to those who conquer nature by force, but to those who build a shared home. Was the story of flooding the Sahara mere fiction? No. In 1927, French engineer Henri Rouder genuinely proposed a plan to create a Sahara Sea. In 1933, British geologist John Ball detailed a hydroelectric project in the Kattara Depression, 133 meters below sea level. In the 1960s, Professor Friedrich Basler proposed excavating the Kattara Canal using 250 peaceful nuclear explosions. Our scenario merged these real plans with analog diesel punk aesthetics, showing what a world of reckless geoengineering could become. What do you think? Could 20th century humanity have maintained control over Kattara had the project launched in the 1930s? If you enjoy detailed alternate history breakdowns and dark diesel punk, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. In the next episode, Project Atlantropa, what if Germany drained the Mediterranean Sea in the 1930s? Special thanks to our community and sponsors for supporting independent graphic alternate history. Watch other alternate history episodes on our channel right now. Links on screen. Thanks for watching. This was Alternative Outline 20th. See you in the next timeline.